Good evening, fine folk of the rebellion. It is that time of month again, and this is welcome to the 22nd edition of the Recce Report. Me and Russ have just been working out, we've been going for just under 2 years. I am, as hosted as always, I'm former Army Corporal Cliff Purvis.
And I am former Army Warrant Officer Russ Denny. Thank you for joining us again. Before we get into this, I'd just say I'm having some glitchy internet at the moment, so I'm not doing some weird robotic 90s dance. It's just glitching, so hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
Yeah, you came through clear on that. Now, as always, with this monthly roundup that we do, it's what we end up leaving out, not so much what we have to put in, especially with the current crop of pseudo politicians operating out of Downing Street. And we've had one defection today, Russ, I believe.
Yes, that high profile, leader of men, 30p Lee Anderson, has, to the absolute amazement of nobody, defected to Reform UK. As someone pointed out, he's not technically defected from the Tory party because right at the moment he's not a member of the Tory party because he had the whip removed. You get to claim that he didn't defect. Yeah. He'll be followed. I also heard a rumor that Nigel Farage is going to restand as the leader.
And I think that with Anderson moving over to that party and Farage raising his head again above the parapet says everything that we need to know about that style of politics. He also mentioned that he was happy to do it because he'll never apologise for his comments about the Mayor of London. He can't change bigotry when it's that ingrained, and he is then now able to stand up in the House of Commons and speak for the millions of people that he knows have not got a voice. I would like to find out where he got that figure from. Is it yet another invention of this guy's ultra ego, or super ego is probably a better way of wording it.
It is. It's a friend of his that doesn't really know him. She's going to pretend not to be his friend. Do you remember that on the campaign trail? Where he rang his mate up and it was caught on the mic to say, "You're just an ordinary constituent. You don't know me."
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry,
I was going to say, Hashbury here saying they were having a debate on defence in Westminster today. I missed that. I've been at work all day, so I have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
Did you know anything about that, Cliff?
No, I did not. Again, the day job was getting in the way of things today.
There you go. So details, Hashbury, it didn't happen. Come on, you know the score.
Yeah. So sticking with defence, though, as we always do with this show, because we are aiming towards the military or the forces community, whether they're serving, retired, or whatever. So that big money pit that is the aircraft carrier, Queen Elizabeth, has broken down.
Amazing piece of British engineering, that, isn't it?
Yeah. The scary thing about both those aircraft carriers is, and I've had this confirmed, two different people, two totally different organisations have said exactly the same thing, that the prop shafts for those aircraft carriers were known to have problems before they were signed fit for duty. They were then stored incorrectly. Not enough props propping up the prop shafts, so they bent or twisted or whatever the engineering term is for something like that, sagged in the middle a bit. So they were known to have problems before they were actually fitted to the vessels. Hence the reason we've just had not so long ago, I should say, that had the Prince of Wales up in Rosyth getting fixed when it broke down leaving port, and now we're going to be getting the Queen Elizabeth over. Now, that's providing it doesn't have another fire. It was getting rid of its ordnance and Loch Long, I believe that happens in. It's the other side of Faz Lane, over the hillside.
Yeah,
from Faz
and
Lane.
and we ridicule these, rightly so. We point and we kind of laugh, but the real ramifications of this is if something were to happen, and sailors and Marines and troops were to deploy, it risks lives.
Yeah,
and it's not the lives of the people that have made millions in their back pocket from giving the procurement to their mates. It risks the lives of our sons, our daughters, our wives, our husbands. We should be absolutely raging at this.
Absolutely. The whole idea about having an aircraft carrier or with its fleet, escort fleet, is so you can project force. And we have got that situation in the Yemen at the moment, where we would need to project that kind of force, putting aircraft in the skies above Yemen. But they can't do it. One of the big strong rumours is that they cannot, without outside assistance, protect the aircraft carrier. They have to get the Americans in to help, and other NATO allies in to help on that one as well. So,
and sorry, Hashby saying in the comments reference that debate today, you only got a little bit of it, but lack of equipment, ammunition, stores, and low recruitment were all mentioned. Well, there's a shock, isn't it? Something we've been banging on about for years now.
Yeah. That doesn't come as a surprise. And you mentioned it earlier on there, Russ. The people that send us off into harm's way, not the generals, admirals, air commodores, whatever, but the politicians. They never have to live with the consequences of their actions. It was the Labour government way back in the day that decided that snatch Land Rovers were good enough to be put into Iraq and into the Afghan.
And you think about it, mate. So what, over 30 something years now since the first Iraq jolly, where troops were going in with boots that melted in the desert. We didn't have any desert combats because we'd sold them all to the Iraqi military a few years before. So when your procurement was an issue then, why is it not sorted now? Why is it still being squandered? And we had a conversation the other day, Cliff, didn't we, about the defence budget, and a lot of people don't know that a sneaky wee accounting trick a few years ago was we now include military pensions in the defence budget. So when the UK says it's contributing 2% of GDP, that's made up of money that me and Cliff are getting.
Yes, and others, not just me and you, Russ.
Yeah. Oh, I wish we were getting it all, mate. But yeah.
And again, none of us nor have any blushing moments picking up our monthly pension. That was part of the contract deal with the MOD, and has got absolutely nothing to do with getting Scotland its independence.
It's the same as any pension, mate. You work for a company that offers a pension, you fulfill your contract, you get the pension. That's how it works, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if anybody is sort of still wondering, should they vote for independence or not vote for it, and you are coming up to end of service military, or you are indeed in receipt of your pension, I believe the only thing that would get affected is the annual increases. That would be similar to people or Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, former colleagues who've all joined up and are still receiving a pension. Something to do with the annual increases we wouldn't get because we live in a different country.
Well, but I would also argue we don't necessarily know that, because part of the negotiations when we do get independence is what we take on. So the new Scottish government may take on the responsibility for paying military pensions of Scots, on new Scots, people living and working in Scotland that have served in the military, and just give them the annual increase. And you see with the recent Scottish budget, they increased the personal allowance, didn't they? Westminster haven't increased it. So the lowest paid in Scotland are now going to pay less tax.
which is also another headline that never makes it onto the front pages of the propaganda. So yeah, Big Liz is broken, and remember, folks, it is named after the English Queen Elizabeth I. That's why it's got the Tudor rose on the front of the ship. Those things, when they were in research and development phase, everybody was saying they were going to be a complete waste of time. And I think those experts have been, unfortunately, shown that they are a complete waste of time. And we're not wishing harm on anybody in uniform. But guys and girls, you're again, as every single person that's ever served, we always get sold short. We're sold short by the people that should be looking after us. And I mean, you're right, Russ. I was on that first Gulf War, and beg, steal, and borrow kit from the Americans just to make life a little bit more comfortable in the desert. So that was one of the things. Now, tying in with that, of course, Russ, you mentioned the service accommodation.
There was so that's been ongoing the last couple of days. So service accommodation has been a factor for a long time, not just the single living accommodation, which traditionally would be where the single service personnel would live on camp, but the married quarters as well. And they came up with a plan that they would start allocating quarters on the basis of family size rather than by rank.
Right.
For those of you that don't know, traditionally there would have been a soldier's patch, maybe a senior NCO's patch, and an officer's patch, and never the twain shall meet. But what happened then, you would have a single major living in a 4-bedroom detached, and then you would have not a single major, sorry, a married major with no kids living in a 4-bedroom detached, and a married private with 3 kids living in a 2-bed mid-terrace. So they said, well, that's not quite right. We'll allocate it on basis of family size, and it was going ahead quite well apparently. And the rumours I hear, and this is just rumours at the moment, please don't sue me, was that a cabal of officers' wives caused a bit of a stink because they couldn't possibly go and live next to the Great Unwashed in the same patch. How could you share a back fence with someone who was so beneath you in the rank structure? That would be just unknowable, wouldn't it? Don't us plebs have to know our place. So they stopped it. So effectively, the planning, the process, it was just basically stopped because they said, the wrong people have been upset. And it's ludicrous. It just shows you that the class system is alive and well, certainly within the military, to a certain extent, a certain amount of elitism that has gone on there. And don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? I've had some nice quarters when I've been in the military. I've had some crappy ones as well. They weren't always kind of nice just because I was the rank I was. Sometimes I had some crappy ones. But yeah, I had no issues living next door to people that I work beside. That can happen anywhere. Although I suppose technically, if I work for IBM, I'm hardly likely to be living next door to the CEO. But
I'm actually pretty lost for words on this one, Russ, because we're living in the year 2024. Right? Yeah. The reason Russ is laughing is because he knows that I'm seldom, if ever, lost for words. We're in the year 2024, and people with nothing more than a snobbery attitude, can pull the plug on what sounded like a fairly decent idea. You're accommodated. Service accompanied accommodation, or whatever they call it these days, depending on your needs. So if you don't need a 4-bedroom,
and to play devil's advocate, I have absolutely, no issue with having a separate officers patch, a separate senior NCO patch, and a separate soldiers patch, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, and there's a big but, there needs to be enough accommodation to settle the needs of people who have bigger families. The reason that this has become an issue is because the MOD sold off all the Murray quarters in the 90s and the 2000s because the army got smaller. Well, first of all, they put them out to tender, they privatized it, and then they were like, "I'm not using them, we'll sell them off, made loads of money." And now now the ones that are left, people don't want to live in because they're falling to bits. They've not been maintained. They've not been looked after. So yeah, have a separate patch for officers, senior NCOs, and soldiers, but build the bloody houses or source the houses to live in. The army's now what, 70,000 strong, technically 75,000 strong.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So let's say half of them are married, right? That's not going to be right, but half of them are married, which means you're looking at what, 30,000 houses?
Yep.
30,000 houses. That's the size of a small town across the whole of the British forces.
Well, the army side of it.
Yeah, of the whole of the army. So you'd be looking at, in somewhere like Colchester, for example, which is a fairly big base, you'd maybe looking at, I don't know, a couple of, let's say 500 homes you'd need, given the size of the garrison.
Yep. Then Catterick's the biggest one.
Yeah. And they used to be able to do that. There used to be thousands of married quarters in Colchester and Catterick. But they're not now because they've all been sold off.
Yep. It was the peace dividend from the end of the Cold War and the rundown and everything else. We know defence spending has been cut. And it's been cut right across the board. It's not just the boys and girls on the front line that are suffering from the lack of funding. It's everybody. It's the whole way through it. The saying that the MOD has been hollowed out, it's just a shop front, is absolutely bang on.
I'm gonna have to just take a moment to address something here. Evelyn said you're more likely to get a good steak and beer at the privates, Barbie. Well, I'm going to disagree with you there because everyone knows that the best entertainment is always in the sergeant's mess. So I'm sorry, Cliff may disagree, but sorry, sergeant's mess is always the place to tie one on. Apologies, am I being elite now? Being elitist now?
Of course, you're being elitist. So it's another aspect that has to be addressed by an independent Scotland as well. And one of the best ideas, because of the size of Scotland, we could physically have people living, not having to move into married quarters or such, or having married quarters in in civilianized areas. So that the people go up to Faslane, work in Faslane, come home to Glasgow type of thing. We don't need to drag people, from me, for example, Thurso down to Tidworth or whatever. So it's a doable thing, and that would be investment into the infrastructure at Scotland that we're not seeing. That we're not seeing from Westminster. We've never seen from Westminster. That's an absolute disgrace that one of our main arteries, the A9, has still not been duelled. And I know the Scottish government's running with that one, but they're playing catch up on all the neglect that has happened since 1707. So it's not going to change overnight. So with independence, we will have the means and the Y4 to concentrate on infrastructure.
And Helen's asking there, Helen's saying it'll be interesting to see how many service personnel will apply to move across to the Scottish Defence Force or whatever it is we're going to call it. Well, I think the answer to that is the terms and conditions. If the Scottish Defence Force offers decent terms and conditions and looks after the people, cuts the ties from, the historical dislike of the British Army, and has it and has that brand new force, I think people will be attracted to it, especially if it offers more opportunities. You
Yeah,
know, the British Army used to be, well, two things. It used to recruit from the poorest sections of the community because people had no other option, but then it also had the opportunity to travel. But that's all gone now. There's no more jollies. There's no more jollies drinking Warsteiner in Berlin, or or tying one on in Hong Kong, or doing a wee trip, Cyprus and things like that, Belize and all these places. It's literally now it's all training. I mean, you still got Cyprus, I suppose. We can't all go there.
yeah. No, it's absolutely right. And I've actually spoken to someone in uniform about this. And you're absolutely bang on the money, Russ. It is to do with the complete package. What would happen on the day they join up to the day they leave, and then the aftercare once they get out. So, and it's got, like any other job, it's got to appeal to people for people to want to do it.
And that aspect, and you see it, and it's not, you see it now. These the Union Jack waving ones you see on social media about, like, we're ready to fight. No, you're not. No one's queuing up at the recruiting offices in England. I'm sorry, there's still a recruiting crisis in the British Army. But I think if you make it somewhere where people want to work, and you give a good career and good opportunities, and not get involved in desert jollies just because the Americans say so.
Yeah.
There's way more things that the Scottish Army can do than that. You get involved in the aid to the civil community, all that sort of stuff. We can do it. And talk about the foreign jollies. You can have reciprocal arrangements with other countries. You can do training and exercises in other European countries.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do that. They can come and traipse around the Highlands, and we'll go and see what it's like on the beach.
Yeah.
That's a fair deal, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, I'm still sniggering about some of those places you mentioned, because I was actually posted to Hong Kong.
I know, that's why I mentioned them. You got to swan around, mate.
Oh, did I ever? Yeah.
I got Germany, Northern Ireland, and Afghanistan. So yeah, I think we see who got the best out of that deal there, mate, didn't we?
Yeah. Right. So the package, it needs to be complete, start to finish, with the correct. If anybody's hurt and carrying long-time injuries, physical and mental, then they get the correct support. But we need to make it appealing, and that really is up to those people that get paid the money to think these ones through. We, as a veterans group, have spoken enough times to various MPs and interested parties, I think is the buzzword to say, about what we are getting back from people on the ground. About how
good question here from Ashbury. Is there a place for a territorial army in independent Scotland? First of all, it's been renamed now to the Reserve Forces, so one army. But yes, absolutely. And I think and I think that's where it kind of miss a trick in maybe in the UK, is that the reserves are seen as a kind of augmentation force, whereas in a lot of countries, the reserves are seen as an integral part of the defence force.
Yeah, you just need to look to the US for that one.
Yeah. They've got the National Guard and all these sort of things where people are ready to kind of go. Yeah, absolutely, and I think it could be. I think that would be a really good option. Are you volunteering to come and take a place there, Ashbury?
Yeah. Have you seen the time, old chap?
I know, it's gone really quick again, mate, isn't it?
I know. Right. Right. So, talking of the MOD and lack of money, there's a very good reason why they haven't got any money, and that's all these payments they've been making to the Saudi bank accounts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you picked this story up, but the Guardian, I believe it was, this week has been picking up. Apparently, 2 people from the MOD were in court for bribery or corruption, anti-corruption charges, and they turned around and went, "No, everybody knew we were doing it," and they have been found not guilty because everybody did know that was going on. And it's an absolute scandal. The MOD were turning around to the then political party in power, which I believe was Tony Blair's Labour, and saying, look, if you continue investigating, it will put the Saudis off. They won't want to buy these Tornadoes and Hawk aircraft and all the training package that goes with that. So he turned around to the Serious Crime Squad, or whatever it was called then, and said, right, stop investigating. We think, oh, isn't it wonderful that people just fly around and get all these wonderful trade deals. There's only one reason why the Saudis are buying anything from the UK. That's because we're greasing the palms. Corruption is so bloody rife. It's unbelievable. But we never get it in headlines. There's one or two papers come out with it. Nothing else is said. They'd much rather concentrate on some person who's now a royal through accident of birth, photoshopping some photographs. That was the big news today, apparently.
And even I, right? And I've been buried in psychobabble all week, mate. And even I picked up on that. Even I know that was coming across. I was like, what the hell? This is news now. This is news now that William or Kate, whoever it is, didn't know how to use a phone to take a picture.
You're sitting there thinking, come on, what else is going on this planet? But that's what they want to do. They've gotten away with that since the advent of the printed press, coming forward into the 1800s when it became a thing. They've been able to control it. They haven't been able to control social media. And as a result, they seem to be at times stuck in no man's land. What do we do here? How do we approach this? And they're just making themselves look to be foolish. But the people in the UK, the people in Scotland particularly, need to wake up to this. If you see a headline, what is happening elsewhere? There's a reason why. What is happening elsewhere? Because that headline, I can guarantee you, is only there for one reason, and that's distraction. And what we've seen with that is the investigation into the £600,000 within the S&P funds. Somewhere in the region of £1.5 million has been spent on that investigation. And have any charges been brought as yet? It's going to come. It's going to surface again, that one, just in time for the general election. And that's not a prediction. I wouldn't be so naive as to say that's a prediction, because again, it's like Lee Anderson going over to the Reform Party. Everybody can see it coming.
Oh, he was always going to go.
Yeah. Right, buddy.
It is. We are literally seconds from finishing. But before we finish up, though, we kind of missed it earlier. We have to remember that our award every month of the Unit of the Week this week, as we know, it goes to Lee 30p Lee Anderson. Congratulations, you are Unit of the Week. So well done, Lee. That's the one achievement you've absolutely made this month, and we are proud to present that to you.
Yeah, you nailed it, buddy. You nailed it. Right, folks. So we're winding down again, and it has been another really, really quick show. We did have a script. I can assure you what we ended up talking about was not on it.
That's what happens, mate. React, things happen. Life moves pretty fast. As that great sage Ferris Bueller said, life moves pretty fast. You have to stop and take a look around once in a while.
That's my problem.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back on the second Monday of the month next month, which will be our 2-year anniversary of starring, producing, writing, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune for this show. So please join us there. And please enjoy the rest of your week. And as Cliff's usual sign off, which is
future's bright, independence is right.
Sarah Alba. Take care, everyone.